Throughout human history, there have existed teachings so profound, so transformative, that powerful institutions sought to conceal them from the masses. The Catholic Church's Council of Constantinople, in 553 CE, made a fateful decision that would alter Western spirituality forever. They officially condemned and removed crucial spiritual teachings about the soul's journey that had been part of early Christian understanding. What if everything you thought you knew about your spiritual journey was just the surface of a much deeper truth? The renowned psychic and mystic Cayce accessed knowledge that resonates with ancient wisdom traditions, spanning from Egypt to Tibet. His insights revealed that your soul's journey extends far beyond a single lifetime, carrying with it memories, purposes, and evolutionary goals that conventional religion rarely acknowledges. Have you ever experienced that peculiar feeling during prayer or meditation? A profound silence where something deeper than words seems to communicate with you. This is what Cayce called the still small voice within. It's not merely poetic language, it's evidence of your soul's direct connection to divine consciousness. This inner silence, this space beyond thought, is your first sign that there's more to your spiritual existence than what traditional dogma describes. The more we can attune ourselves to silence, Cayce explained in his readings, the more we can hear the voice of our Creator speaking through our higher consciousness. This teaching parallels what the cosmologist Carl Sagan once remarked about the universe. The absence of evidence is not evidence of absence. Similarly, the absence of external validation for your deepest spiritual intuitions doesn't invalidate them. It may simply mean you've touched upon truths that institutions found too threatening to preserve. When you feel that inexplicable resonance with spiritual ideas that weren't part of your upbringing, perhaps a sense that we've lived before, or that consciousness continues beyond death, you're experiencing what Cayce described as soul memory. These aren't random thoughts, but glimpses of your soul recognizing truths it has always known. The Church's systematic removal of reincarnation from Christian doctrine wasn't merely theological housekeeping. It was a deliberate effort to centralize spiritual authority in institutional hands rather than encouraging direct spiritual knowing. As Cayce's readings revealed, each soul enters with a mission. We all have a mission to perform. This mission exists whether or not you consciously recognize it. That persistent feeling that you're meant for something specific in this lifetime, even if you can't quite name it, is another sign of these hidden teachings manifesting in your awareness. Your soul knows why it's here, even when your conscious mind struggles to articulate it. The most profound spiritual truths often feel familiar when we encounter them, as if we're remembering rather than learning something new. This sensation, which Cayce called soul recognition, happens because these teachings align with our deeper spiritual nature. They resonate not because they're exotic or appealing, but because they're authentic to our soul's experience. When institutions removed these teachings from their doctrines, they didn't erase them from existence. They merely drove them underground, where they continued to flow like underground rivers, occasionally bubbling to the surface through mystics, visionaries, and spiritual seekers throughout the centuries. What makes Cayce's work so remarkable is not just the content of his psychic readings, but how consistently they align with ancient wisdom traditions that predate organized religion. His insights suggest that these forgotten teachings aren't new at all. They're among humanity's oldest spiritual understandings, temporarily obscured, but never truly lost. Have you ever wondered why certain patterns in your life seem to repeat with almost mathematical precision? The same relationship dynamics, financial challenges, or health issues returning in different forms, but with the same underlying lesson. This persistent echo in your life experiences points to what Cayce called karmic patterns, one of the most profound teachings systematically removed from Western spiritual traditions. As ye sow, so shall ye reap appears in Scripture, but its deeper implications were carefully excised. The original understanding wasn't simply about moral cause and effect within a single lifetime. Rather, it described the soul's journey through multiple incarnations, carrying the unresolved energy of previous actions into new life experiences until balance is achieved. In reading 28422, Cayce explained, For what ye sow, that shall ye reap. That is, thy soul self was, is, and ever will be. For it is made in the image of thy Maker. This perspective reveals that recurring patterns aren't random coincidences or cruel twists of fate. They're purposeful opportunities for soul growth that transcend a single lifetime. When specific themes persistently arise in your life, they represent soul lessons seeking completion. The doctrine of reincarnation wasn't always considered heretical in Christian thought. Early church fathers like Origen of Alexandria openly taught that souls experienced multiple lifetimes as part of their spiritual evolution. Historical records show that references to reincarnation appeared in Christian texts until the Second Council of Constantinople, where Emperor Justinian, motivated more by political control than spiritual truth, ensured these teachings were officially condemned. Cayce's readings revealed that what we experience as karma isn't punishment, but education, a cosmic principle designed to bring awareness through experience. The entity makes its own destiny, he stated in reading 57532. For what ye do with what ye have in hand today determines what ye shall have in hand tomorrow. This perspective transforms how we view life's challenges from arbitrary suffering to meaningful soul development. Notice how certain people trigger intense emotional reactions in you that seem disproportionate to your actual history with them. Cayce explained these as soul recognitions, encounters with those we've known in previous incarnations, carrying unresolved energy that seeks healing. These inexplicably deep connections, whether harmonious or conflicted, offer windows into your soul's ongoing story. The removal of reincarnation from Christian doctrine created a theological problem: how to explain the apparent injustice of suffering. Without understanding the continuity of the soul's journey across multiple lifetimes, religious authorities were forced to attribute suffering either to God's inscrutable will or to ancestral sin, explanations that ultimately portray the divine as arbitrary or punitive rather than perfectly loving and just. Cayce's readings consistently revealed that our souls choose specific life circumstances before birth based on what we need to learn and balance. For the soul chooses the environ wherein it enters for what may be accomplished by the entity, he explained in reading 2632, chapter 1. This teaching transforms our understanding of life's difficulties from divine punishment to soul-directed learning experiences. Perhaps you've experienced déjà vu, that uncanny feeling that you've been somewhere or done something before, despite knowing it's your first time. Mainstream science attempts to explain this as neural misfiring, but Cayce offered a different perspective. These moments can be brief glimpses where the veil between past incarnations temporarily thins, allowing soul memories to surface in consciousness. The persistent patterns in your life aren't meaningless repetition, but a cosmic curriculum designed specifically for your soul's evolution. When you begin to recognize these patterns, you've discovered another sign of the hidden teachings. This awareness itself becomes transformative, as Cayce noted. Know that all changes that come to you are a part of the divine plan for your growth and development. Understanding karmic patterns doesn't mean passively accepting difficult circumstances as deserved. Rather, it empowers you to consciously participate in your soul's evolution by recognizing the lesson within the pattern and choosing a new response. As Cayce emphasized, the destiny of the soul is set by what the soul does about what it knows. When you approach recurring challenges with this awareness, you accelerate your spiritual growth and begin to transform patterns that may have persisted across many lifetimes. Have you ever experienced that inexplicable feeling that you were meant to be doing something specific with your life? A persistent inner knowing that you have a purpose, even when you couldn't articulate exactly what it was. This profound sense of mission isn't merely psychological, it's evidence of what Cayce called pre-life planning, another fundamental teaching systematically removed from mainstream religious doctrine. In reading 2823-1, Cayce revealed, "For each soul enters with a mission. We all have a mission to perform." This statement reflects a profound truth. Your soul actively participated in planning this incarnation before birth, selecting specific challenges, relationships, and opportunities that would best serve its evolutionary journey. This concept transforms our understanding of life from random circumstance to purposeful experience. The institutional church found this teaching particularly threatening because it placed spiritual authority within the individual soul rather than external religious structures. If souls choose their own paths with divine guidance, what need would there be for intermediaries claiming exclusive access to God's will? The implications were too revolutionary to maintain within a system built on centralized spiritual authority. Evidence of this teaching appears in your life whenever you experience that uncanny sense of rightness about certain paths, people, or places, what Cayce called soul recognition. Those moments when you feel inexplicably drawn to particular life directions aren't random attractions, but your soul recognizing what it planned to experience. As Cayce explained, the entity itself knows whether it is manifesting that for which it entered. Consider those pivotal moments in your life that seem to arrive through coincidence, unexpected opportunities, chance encounters that changed everything, or sudden insights that altered your life course. Cayce's readings suggest these aren't accidents, but prearranged appointments your soul scheduled to fulfill its purposes. Chance, as one reading stated, is merely the meeting of unseen forces. The concept of soul choice also explains why some individuals demonstrate remarkable resilience in the face of tremendous challenges. Those who rise above difficult circumstances with unexpected strength aren't simply lucky or psychologically exceptional. They're often souls who deliberately chose challenging conditions to accelerate their spiritual growth. Hardships, Cayce noted, are often the stepping stones to great achievements in material and spiritual realms. What mainstream religion often depicts as divine punishment or arbitrary suffering takes on new meaning through this forgotten teaching. The difficulties you face aren't evidence of cosmic indifference or divine retribution, but carefully selected experiences your soul determined would provide the growth it sought. Before this material manifestation, Cayce explained in reading 2544-1, the entity sets for itself those problems it will meet in the Earth's plane. This doesn't mean all suffering is chosen or that victims are responsible for their misfortunes. Cayce clarified that while souls choose general life patterns and lessons, free will remains operative throughout life. The specific manifestations of our challenges are shaped by collective choices and the free will of others. We choose the curriculum, not every detail of how it unfolds. Perhaps you've experienced moments of unexpected skill or knowledge, abilities that seem to come naturally despite minimal training. These talents often represent what Cayce called soul memories, capabilities developed in previous incarnations that remain accessible in your current life. Your inexplicable affinities and natural gifts aren't random, but reflect your soul's accumulated experiences across many lifetimes. The Church's suppression of these teachings created an artificial separation between the divine and human experience. By removing the understanding that souls participate in planning their incarnations, religious institutions position themselves as necessary intermediaries to an otherwise inaccessible God. Yet, as Cayce consistently emphasized, the divine is within, not without. This teaching transforms how we understand human potential. If we are souls who have chosen specific life experiences for our growth, then within us lies the wisdom and capacity to fulfill our purposes. The challenges we face aren't meaningless obstacles, but the very conditions we selected for our development. As Cayce stated, know that all changes that come to you are a part of the divine plan for your growth and development. When you feel that persistent inner calling towards certain life directions, even when they contradict conventional wisdom or expectations, you're experiencing another sign of these hidden teachings manifesting in your awareness. Your soul remembers what your conscious mind may have forgotten. You are here by choice, with purpose, participating in a journey that extends far beyond a single lifetime. This understanding doesn't diminish divine involvement in human experience, but enhances it. Rather than subjects of arbitrary fate, we become active participants in a co-creative relationship with the divine. As Cayce explained, "For as the Father knoweth the heart, so does the Father meet the needs of those that seek to know his face." Your soul's journey isn't imposed from without, but unfolds through collaboration between your deepest self and the divine source from which it emerged. Among the most profound teachings concealed from mainstream spiritual understanding is what Cayce called the transformative nature of suffering. While conventional religion often portrays suffering as punishment for sin or evidence of divine displeasure, the deeper truth reveals something far more meaningful. Suffering, when approached with spiritual awareness, becomes one of the most powerful catalysts for soul evolution. In reading 5246 Dham 1, Cayce explained, "For all suffering is part of the one great law of love." This perspective stands in stark contrast to simplistic religious interpretations that reduce suffering to divine retribution. Instead, the pain we experience contains within it the seeds of our most profound growth, not because suffering itself is good, but because it creates the conditions that can awaken dormant aspects of our spiritual nature. The institutional suppression of this teaching was perhaps inevitable in a system that sought to control through fear. If suffering could be reframed as punishment, it became a powerful tool for enforcing compliance with religious dogma. Yet the original understanding offered a far more empowering perspective. Suffering is neither random nor punitive, but purposeful, a crucible for transformation when approached with consciousness. Have you noticed how periods of greatest difficulty in your life often preceded your most significant personal growth? This pattern reflects what Cayce described as the refiner's fire, challenging experiences that burn away what is no longer serving your soul's evolution, revealing deeper capacities for compassion, wisdom, and authentic power. The more the entity suffers, one reading stated, the more the entity may become aware of its relationship to the creative forces. The mystical traditions that preserved these teachings understood what modern psychology now confirms. Transformation rarely occurs in comfortable circumstances. It is precisely when our familiar strategies fail that we become open to new possibilities. As Cayce noted, hardships are often the stepping stones to great achievements in material and spiritual realms. This isn't to glorify suffering or suggest we should seek it out. Rather, this forgotten teaching offers a framework for finding meaning within inevitable human pain. When suffering arrives, as it does in every human life, it can be approached not as punishment, but as opportunity. What is gained in the physical is lost, Cayce explained, unless there is a spiritual gain in the experience. Consider those individuals who emerge from devastating life experiences with inexplicable wisdom, compassion, and inner strength. From the conventional perspective, they've simply overcome their suffering. But Cayce's readings offer a deeper insight. They've alchemized their pain, transforming it into spiritual gold through conscious engagement with its deeper purpose. This understanding transforms how we approach life's challenges. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" a question that often leads to victimhood or bitterness, we can ask, "What is this experience offering my soul?" This shift in perspective activates our capacity to grow through difficulty rather than merely endure it. The suppression of these teachings created a significant spiritual problem. Without understanding suffering's transformative potential, many sincere seekers interpret their pain as evidence of divine abandonment or punishment. This misinterpretation creates unnecessary spiritual trauma and separates people from the very divine connection that could help them navigate their challenges. Cayce's readings consistently emphasized that the divine never abandons us during suffering, but is most accessible within it. The Lord is ever present when there is need for him, he stated in reading 58:1-1. This forgotten teaching reveals that our darkest moments contain the potential for our most profound spiritual connections. Not because God sends suffering, but because suffering often strips away the distractions that obscure our awareness of divine presence. What conventional religion often frames as redemptive suffering focuses primarily on enduring pain for future reward. The deeper teaching Cayce accessed reveals something more immediate. Suffering itself contains the seeds of transformation when approached with consciousness. The redemption occurs not merely after suffering, but through our relationship with it. When you experience that mysterious sense that your difficulties contain hidden purpose, even before you can articulate what that purpose might be, you're touching another sign of these forgotten teachings manifesting in your awareness. Your soul recognizes what your conditioned mind may resist. Properly engaged, suffering becomes a doorway to dimensions of yourself that remain inaccessible in comfortable circumstances. This perspective doesn't encourage passive acceptance of injustice or unnecessary pain. Instead, it empowers us to distinguish between suffering we can prevent or alleviate and challenges that contain necessary lessons. As Cayce emphasized, know the difference between that which would hinder and that which would aid in the experience. The final sign that these forgotten teachings are awakening within you is perhaps the most profound: the growing recognition that all aspects of your experience, joyful and painful alike, are contributing to your soul's evolution. This awareness itself becomes transformative, allowing you to participate consciously in your spiritual development, rather than feeling victimized by circumstance. As we conclude this exploration of Cayce's forgotten teachings, remember that these ancient understandings weren't hidden because they were dangerous or false, but because they were too empowering. They reveal that your spiritual authority resides within you, that your soul's journey extends far beyond a single lifetime, and that every experience, especially the challenging ones, contains the potential for profound transformation. The journey back to this wisdom isn't about rejecting traditional faith, but recovering its deeper dimensions. Dimensions that reconnect us with the original spiritual understanding that existed before institutional agendas obscured it. As Cayce reminded us, truth is one. The application of truth must be made by the individual. If these forgotten teachings have resonated with something deep within you, perhaps it's that soul recognition Cayce spoke about, your inner wisdom acknowledging truth. This journey doesn't end here. Subscribe now to continue exploring these profound spiritual insights that institutions have kept hidden for centuries. Share your own experiences in the comments below. Have you noticed these signs in your own life? What patterns, life choices, or transformative suffering has shaped your soul's journey? By joining this community, you'll discover how these ancient understandings can illuminate your path forward. Click subscribe, activate notifications, and become part of a movement reclaiming the spiritual wisdom that has always been our birthright.